And with that, hopefully we've had enough time to wipe our eyes. I'd like to introduce some of our guests who will be joining me up here. We're going to just be having a round robin discussion on Michelle. So first off, with someone who worked with her on season 7, Ms. Sarah Hagen. And if anybody has Kleenex, I did not bring it up here, that would be very much appreciated. Next, Iyari Limon. And hold on 1 second, I'm going to get this Kleenex and pass it down, but I will take one myself. And lastly, our next, and I won't even say panelist, just our next friend that's going to join us up on stage. Damn you, Livia! Okay, someone that's known her, Michelle, for a very long time, Miss Mara Wilson. And I'm switching sides, so I have to sit over here, closer to the Kleenex. I hope I'm okay. Okay, better? You guys are right. I don't know if that was better to do it before I introduced you. Or what did you guys think of the video?
Do we have to talk about that? It was obviously, I don't know, it's just emotional. Seeing her, yeah.
I think it was quite beautiful, actually. Yeah, it was beautiful.
It captured how I remember her.
So guys, I did not write any questions for this. Everyone up here knew Michelle. So this is just about us kind of talking about basically our remembrances working with her and living life with her. Okay, so this is not supposed to be sad. This is just some fun little tidbits of what Michelle was like. So we'll open up to some questions a little later, but for now, Iyari, would you like to start us off with maybe a little story or something? I know this is tough.
Okay. Whew, let's see. I never know what to say. All my memories of Michelle are really good. She was just this really lovely, light that, her presence was just very obvious. And for me personally, wasn't so easy to come on set daily, and the fact that she noticed that, and was one of 2 people the whole time I was on that, actually came up to me and had this, really sweet conversation, and she's like, Iyari, I know it's not so easy to come on a show like this, and I'm like, who's this kid? How does she even know what I'm going through? But she did, and she's like, I want you to know that my door's always open, and you can come talk to me anytime. And wow, she really touched me, because here's this, I don't even think she was 18 yet, and she's just so observant and so she had this like youthfulness to her, but this is my experience, okay? I'm sharing my experience. It was like this really sweet, young, wanting to do good at what she did, and it was just so sweet to watch her, like, really wanting to be good at what she was doing. And I didn't see that I don't see that very often from other actors, and I just really admired and respected her commitment, her dedication, and I can feel that oftentimes it wasn't easy for her either. I mean, this is just, again, my experience. I don't know, I could be totally wrong. But, so I felt connected to her in that way, where it's like, oh my gosh, she like gets it, and you know, I wish I had more time with her, because I think there was a lot of similarities that I shared with her, and unfortunately I didn't have that, you know, time to really spend more offset with her, but I will always remember what she did and how she made me feel. I know it sounds very selfish because it's all about me and how she made me feel, but like, how sweet of her to take the time, you know, and do that. She didn't have to do that. And just, I was always so curious about her, like what's going on in her mind, because she's so young, you know, like she's so young, and you can feel that she's had this like big career, and the weight of that she had, right? And I just wish I had really gotten to know her better, but my memories are wonderful. I'm very saddened that, you know, she was taken away too soon. But I feel lucky and blessed to have had those moments with her and to have experienced her and her energy and her presence and her light, because she was definitely a light. And sometimes it's hard being a light. You get a lot of negativity, you know, and sometimes I felt like that probably happened as well, you know, like, and so to be around that is a gift. And oftentimes people don't like that, you know, they want to like, and so I don't know, I wish wherever she's at, I could be like, Michelle, you do realize like how bright you are, or, you know, still wherever she's at. So she was a gift. Like, she was a little star that was on set, kind of floating around like a little fairy, like a little. So I mean, I could go on and on, but I'll start with that. And thank you. I don't know if I'm like mumbling. Yeah, I'm very grateful.
Sarah, what was it like coming on? What was it like coming on Buffy on the last season, knowing you were coming on to a show that had already been set? What was it like coming on with her?
Well, I mean, I'll piggyback off of Iyari, because we both came on season 7, the very last season of Buffy. Everyone knew that it was ending and it was the last season. And so it is a bit overwhelming to be the new person on set, and everybody knows each other and everyone's tired. But with that said, Michelle was this just sort of bubbly, youthful, like energy on set that would have otherwise not been there. She was still in high school. She was still going to an actual high school while she was working on set, so she would bring her schoolwork to set with her. When they brought me back, because I was only supposed to do that one little episode on episode 4 of season 7. When they brought me back, I was working, for that first episode, I was working fully with Michelle Trachtenberg, and I was so incredibly excited. I grew up on Harriet the Spy. She had this I looked up to her. She had this charisma, she was captivating to watch, honestly. And she had this confidence too about her, like on set, that I did not have at all. And she just made me feel comfortable. She made me feel incredibly comfortable. She talked to me like she was already my friend. And she was just wonderful, and so talented. And I wanted to kind of be her in a way. It was really weird. Like, I was always asking, like, what lip gloss is that? Like, it's so cool. And what sweatshirt are you wearing? And she would tell me, like, she would be like, this is Juicy Tube, and you can get it at Nordstrom. And this is also BP from Nordstrom. You can also get that there. And so I would go to Nordstrom and buy. It was very silly, but no, I mean, God, it was. I don't really know what else to say except that she was a very special person. Yeah.
Just to add to that, to me, she was like one of those women that uplift others as opposed to make you feel insecure or jealous. She was the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And that's really hard, especially in this industry. So, yeah, you're right. You're like, oh my God, that's who I want to be around. Like people like her, and she made you feel very comfortable and safe, and for being so young, you know. And yeah, she had this confidence, but she also had this like youthfulness to her, like this adorableness to her, and so that's like that's like angelic. Like when you see beauty in others, what she did, or uplift others, or you know, like you said, where'd you get that? She was happy to like to tell you, you know, and like share, and like so yeah, that was a really, really great quality about her.
Early 90s, we were at the Kids' Choice Awards for Nickelodeon, I believe in 1997, and I was really nervous about meeting her because Harriet the Spy was, you know, considered so much cooler than anything I'd ever done. And I looked at her and she looked like she had stepped out of a Limited 2 catalog. She was so stylish and her hair was perfect and she had this huge smile. But I noticed that she was being nice to other kids there, particularly younger kids. And she was actually in an Ice Cube fight with Jonathan Lipnicki. And they were laughing and they were having a good time. And I remember going over to her, and I think one of the first things she said to me was that she loved my dress and she knew exactly where I'd gotten it and she loved that store. And I was like, oh my God, I shop at the place the cool girl shops. She was just a master of making you feel immediately comfortable, and I think that everybody I knew either looked up to her or fell in love with her, or a little bit of both. I mean, I remember she just really was the coolest girl there, and not a cool girl in a like cool mean girl way, but a cool girl in a everybody looked up to her kind of way. She would tell jokes and she would make everybody laugh. And all of the boys and probably some of the girls had huge crushes on her. And I mean, my friends and I would gossip about how like somebody had said that they were in love with Michelle, but actually Michelle already had a boyfriend. And you know, it was so scandalous to us, but we kind of couldn't blame him because we all loved Michelle. She was sort of the epitome of the cool older girl, and she was maybe a year or two older than me, but you know, when you're 9, 10, 11, that year makes all the difference. And I just thought that she was so cool, and she was. And after I found out she died, you know, I was heartbroken, and I ended up reaching out to a bunch of people who'd known her, people who'd worked with her, and they all said the same things, that she was somebody who brought people together. She was somebody that everybody looked up to. I remember I was talking with Danny Tamborelli, who worked with her on The Adventures of Pete and Pete, and he said that she was like his little sister. She was an older sister to me, but she was a little sister to him. And she did have a tough side, as Danny put it. She's from Brooklyn. But he told me that one time he was like getting really into playing bass guitar, and so instead of going to lunch with them, he was like playing bass in his trailer during lunch break. And the next day, she hid the auxiliary cord because she didn't want him to play his bass, she wanted him to hang out with them. And he says he got the message, and you know, it might have been a very little sister move to do, but she just really wanted everybody to hang out. She wanted everybody to have a good time. And yeah, like what you both have said, she was exactly the type of woman that lifted other women up and could smile at you and make you feel comfortable. And I think she also went through a lot, because I think there was a lot of jealousy. I mean, I remember like all the girls at my school grumbling when she was cast on Buffy. They were like, Buffy doesn't have a sister, this is ridiculous. Not really realizing, you know, that may have been the point. And And there was so much jealousy, and she handled it, I think, as well as she could. And I mean, I really, I think in some ways I kind of assumed that she was too cool for me once she'd grown up, and I wish I'd connected with her more as an adult, because she was an incredible person, and I think I just assumed, oh well, she's like more famous than me now, and she's cool, and she's beautiful, and she can do so much. And I should have known that Michelle was not that type of person. Michelle was not the type of person who was ever too cool or too famous or too hot or too this or too that, even though she was all of those things. So I should have known that, and really the only thing positive that's come out of it is I've reached out to a lot of people who knew her and loved her like I did and looked up to her, or dated her, were her friends, were like family to her, and I've reconnected with a lot of them, and that feels like something that would make Michelle so happy, because that is exactly the kind of thing that she loves to do, to bring people together. Whether you were working with her, whether you were just her friend, that was all she ever wanted to do.
Very polarizing, right? Some love her, some didn't like the character, right? At such a young age, she got thrust into that spot, and she was able to basically laugh it off. She had such a great time playing that role. How do you think she was able to manage that? Just being onto a show, and you guys came on in the very last season knowing it was ending, but she came in several seasons earlier in a role that, like Mara said, Buffy doesn't have a sister, right? But she took it and she made it her own, and she didn't really care what anybody thought, negative or positive. That's just the way she was. Well, how do you guys think she was able to deal with that personally?
I'm not really sure.
I mean, she's a professional. She's got that. She still went to school. Like, she consumed her mind with other things rather than all the negativity out there. That's what I think. She came in, she did her job, and she had fun with it. And yeah.
I think it was hard for her. I mean, I don't know if I know that she told me when we were in middle school together that the kids there had been, probably out of jealousy, very cruel to her. And she kind of had to develop this tough exterior to protect herself. And I think that she did, she was tough and she was resilient. She was incredibly kind, but she was also very strong. And I think that she developed that. And the thing is, though, that I think she knew exactly who she was. She had a very strong sense of self. She knew, I think, that she was talented, that she was beautiful, that she was intelligent. Maybe she doubted herself sometimes, like everybody does. But I think that she knew herself and she believed in herself. And she believed in other people, too. And she was, she was also somebody who was very loved. And I think that she knew that she was very loved. And she was able to hold on to that. And I don't think she was somebody who would shy away from a challenge, and I think she knew it was going to be a challenge playing this part. But she headlined a movie, when she was 9, 10, and did an amazing job at it. She'd done all kinds of amazing things, so I think it probably was no big deal for her, ultimately. It might have been hard, but she knew who she was, and she was strong.
I'm not honestly sure that she didn't care. My perspective on it, watching from a distance, was that she did care. But obviously she was probably affected by it, but I think she didn't let that dim her light. She didn't let that she didn't become jaded. She didn't become, she was resilient and strong, but she still continued to be open and loving, and that's really, something, because I don't think it's easy, like what you said, speaking for myself, it wasn't easy for me, and I was only in 13 episodes, and I struggled, I really did. There was times where I would go to set, and I would literally, between us here, I don't think I've ever said this, I would literally be like, oh my God, I want them to fire me. I don't know that there was some things I went through on set as a newcomer that I was like, wow, this is really hard. and I was in my 20s, you know? So she just knew how to navigate it. She knew that she was talented and beautiful and all those things that I'm sure there's jealousy out there and all that, and there's no way you can't feel that. But she like still, you know, was who she was, like true to herself, and like, but doesn't mean it didn't affect her, at least that's my opinion, right? But yeah, she is someone to definitely look up to and be like, wow, like you are strong and resilient, and you still are open and loving to others, because that can make you really like, you know, you guys are all shaking your head. Yeah, and she didn't let that like ruin who she was as her essence as a human being. So that's like so much respect and, you know, to learn from. So yeah, good on her. Like I fucking love her like, for that. You know, she's like kept going, and she should. She was talented and everything, and there was no reason why any of that should have, you know, stop her, and it didn't. And so. Yeah, she was awesome. Rock star, definitely. A huge, you know, star. So, yeah. We'll never know, right? We'll never know what she went through inside deep, but we can guess or whatnot. But what we do know is all the good stuff. Like, she made us feel comfortable, uplifted other women. Like, despite all, she succeeded and kept going and was true to herself. And I think that's really great to take from. Like, to, you know, to live up to that, to be more like that. So she was a good example to us women, or to everyone, really. Yeah. Did I talk too much?
How do you guys feel if I open it up for any questions from the floor? Yes.
Would you guys, in your opinion, with her being Harriet the Spy, which you talked about, her being such a predominant woman towards you and other people, the way I perceive her Harriet the Spy, why I felt with her, do you think she got that role because of who she was as a person, or do you think that longevity-wise helped her out in the future with her career?
I mean, I think that there was something in her that, you know, there was something in it that they could see, and you know, casting directors, in my experience, sometimes know things about a person before they know it themselves. Take that as you will. I think, you know, they knew. I think they knew, and I think pretty much everybody knew, that she was somebody who was very intelligent and very self-possessed from a very young age. She was remarkably intelligent, and she was warm, and she was funny, and she had a good sense of humor. I think that she was somebody who gave off those qualities, and you know, I think there are a lot of actors who are adults who are very different than the parts they play, but I think a lot of times with children, there is a little bit of the part they play in them already, you know, and she was very observant, you know, she was very observant, she was very smart, she was a loyal friend, but you know, maybe every now and then had a bit of a snarky sense of humor and a tough side. So I do think that, I mean, I can't imagine anybody who could have played Harriet the Spy better. I do think as you get older, you know, and you learn more facets of yourself, you get to play these parts, sometimes that are like you, sometimes that are completely unlike you. But as a child, I think, you know, she had that spark, and she had that intelligence, and she had that beauty and that wit, and I think, you know, she, in a lot of ways, she was Harriet. She was probably a bit nicer than Harriet. Harriet could be a little mean, but although, you know, I think also Harriet represents a lot of, you know, judgmental sides of ourselves that we try not to let other people see. Yeah, I think but I really did feel when I was, you know, met her when I was 9 or 10, that she could do anything. She was smart, she was funny, she was kind, she was beautiful, she was very self-possessed, she had a great sense of humor, and I think that is something that came across in her characters then, and came across in other characters. And then it's funny because you see her in something like Gossip Girl, where she's playing a character who is nothing like her, and I remember people saying, oh, she must be really mean in real life because she's so good at being mean on Gossip Girl. And I was like, no, she's just a good actor.
Does anyone have any questions? I've been given a 10-minute sign, so it's probably about 7 minutes left. Chris?
Hey there. So, everybody we meet in life kind of teaches us a lesson. What was the biggest lesson that you learned about life through Michelle?
Oh, that's easy. To me, it was stay true to yourself. Because she stayed true to herself. I mean, that's hard sometimes in this industry, you know? Yeah, that's huge for me. Like, she stayed true to herself. And I'm taking that from her. I'm gonna remind myself, you know, thank you, Michelle. So that's for me.
It always looked like she was having a good time in whatever she was doing. Like she was embracing the good. And I think that's what I will take away from her. And maybe that, I don't know, that just, maybe that comes from confidence or something, but she just, yeah, she just seemed to embrace, like, I don't know, just enjoy all the moments. And so yeah, I'll just take that from her.
I think that for me, what she taught me was, it is, you know, she was kind to people that she didn't have to be kind to. I think that somebody, you know, there's a saying that a date that is nice to you but is not nice to the waiter is not a nice date. I think that that is something that's really important. She was nice to people that she didn't have to be nice to. You know, she was nice to the little kids that looked up to her. She was nice to the younger girls that looked up to her. If, you know, people wanted to talk to her, if they wanted to get help from her, she was kind and she was giving. And I think she was very cognizant of how she was perceived by other people and that people were looking up to her. And I think that that is something that it was important for me to take from her was, you know, you always be kind to, and it's what I loved about her, always be kind to the people that aren't, there's a lot of people I think in Hollywood and just in real life that are only nice to people because they think they can get them something. You know, there's that sleaziness you see in people sometimes. And she never was like that. She was just kind to everybody regardless of who they were. And so I think that that was something that I really paid attention to was be nice to the people who are looking up to you. Always be nice to them and be respectful to them and be kind.
That was a great question.
Yeah, thank you, Chris.